I am a big Resident Evil fan. I was a little too young and scared to get into the earlier games, but Resident Evil 4 was amazing. Probably my most played game on the GameCube. I enjoyed the co-op on Resident Evil 5, had some fun with the Umbrella Chronicles on Wii, Resident Evil 6. Resident Evil 7 was a horrifying VR experience and became one of my favorite Resident Evil games. And then the Resident Evil 2 remake was a great experience modernizing the roots of the Resident Evil franchise. So I was really excited for Resident Evil 8 and to see the direction that Capcom would take the series. And finally it was released to great success. It was critically acclaimed and went on to sell very well. So a fan like me should be happy, right? Well, not really. I enjoyed playing through the game, but couldn't help but feeling like it was missing something that the other great Resident Evil games had. After giving it some thought, I think the problem with Resident Evil 8 is that it doesn't have its own identity. I was really interested to see where Capcom was going to take the series with Resident Evil 8. Was this going to be Resident Evil 7 route and expand on the terrifying horror? Would this game be a spiritual successor to Resident Evil 4 but expand by adding the horror elements of Resident Evil 7? Would it be a completely new experience taking aspects from all the past games? I think any of these could have turned out great, but instead we got a game that doesn't really know what it wants to be, so it just pasted together the old successful games. We have our Resident Evil 4 beginning, and then you have the Resident Evil 2 section with Lady D walking around, and then, oh, it's time to be scared, so pop in a little of Resident Evil 7, and then back to Resident Evil 4. While playing, I kept being like, oh wow, this is cool, Lady D is kind of like Mr. X from Resident Evil 2. I wonder how they'll expand on this concept. But then it was over. Oh wow, this is so scary, just like Resident Evil 7. I wonder how they'll expand on the scares of exploring a dark house with an unkillable enemy chasing you. Oh, it's over. Instead of building on the old concepts, they just included them. Instead of mixing the old concepts together, they just kept them separated into different sections of the game. It ends up feeling like a demo of their past successful games instead of its own experience. And I think the transitioning from game to game kept me from being able to get into this game. The logic in Resident Evil stories has always been kind of questionable.
Why don't you fucking tell me right away?
Because I knew you would want to be involved.
But this was the first time I was really like, alright, that's too dumb. And this was the first time I didn't want to replay a critically acclaimed Resident Evil game. All in all, I'm happy Resident Evil is having success with this game, but I hope that Capcom doesn't take the same approach with future Resident Evil entries.